Welcome to Learn Yourself. Today we are going to understand chapter 16, that is Sustainable Management of Natural Resources. This chapter is under CBSE Standard 10 syllabus. In this chapter, basically we are going to understand that how many natural resources are in a dangerous situation, why they are in a dangerous situation, and what all are the possible solutions that we can adapt in our daily routine life so that we can manage our resources and we can use them for longer period of time. So let us start our chapter. So in this chapter we are going to study about living in harmony with nature. That means how to live without polluting and causing harm to nature. So it is also important that we should live in harmony with the nature, and that is called sustainable living. So what is sustainable living? When we are living in harmony with the nature, in harmony with the complete ecosystem, and we should not pollute them, we should not cause any harm to the nature. So topics we are going to learn is, first of all, we are going to learn about 5 important R's. First of all, we are going to learn about 5 R's. So what are they? They are reduce, reuse, refuse, recycle, and repurpose. These all 5 R's are based on our routine life material usage. Then second is management of resources. First resource is forest and wildlife, then water, then dams and water harvesting, then last one are coals and petroleum, exhaustible resources. For all the above resources, we will learn how much harm we have caused over a period of time because of our faulty lifestyle and because of somewhere we were ignorant to that, and what can we do to manage them. So it is a high time so that we should use some of the alternative energy resources and we should manage our resources well, adequately, so coming generation also can use them. So that is all we are going to learn in this chapter. So let us start with the first topic. So why there is a need to manage resources? Why we need to manage our resource? Cause we are unthinkingly exploiting our resources to maintain a balance in ecosystem, to avoid further destruction of environment, and to avoid overconsumption of resources. So these are the 4 main points which we should think about, and these are the 4 main points. Because of that, this situation, we need to manage our resources. Till now, what first point suggests that till now we were completely ignorant towards the usage and our consumption is very high. Then second point suggests that we have to balance the ecosystem, that if one or two of the resources will be exhausted in the ecosystem, then survival for the humans will be difficult and it will be in a dangerous situation. So we need to maintain a balance in ecosystem. Then third point suggests that we have caused much harm to the environment and we have disturbed the environment severely. So we should stop that, we should avoid that. Then fourth point suggested that we have overconsumed all the natural resources. Whatever natural resources were there, our use was not wisely. So we should use them wisely and we should not overconsume it. So these are the 4 points. Because of this, we need to manage the resources. The next is why there is a need of sustainable development. Earlier we have talked about sustainable management of the natural resources. Why sustainable lifestyle is very important. So there are 3 points, there are 3 reasons for that. The concept of sustainable development encourages forms of growth that meet current basic human need while preserving the resources of need of the future generation. That whatever we are using for ourselves and we are saving it for the future generation. Second point is economic development. So whatever economic development is happening, development which is entirely based on the money, that new companies are coming up, new buildings are we are building on the forest land and all. So those all are economic development. They should link to environmental consumption. So whatever economic development we are doing, those development should be happen with the take care of the environmental issues. Then third point, again it is depending upon the willingness of the people. So each and every person should focus that how can we maintain our sustainable lifestyle. We should do less material waste, and we should take care about the social, economic and environmental conditions around us. So each and every person has to set up a goal, and they should be willingful to do this. Then only we can save our earth. So this is why the sustainable development are important. And next is Ganga Action Plan. We have discussed this topic thoroughly in this chapter, that Ganga Action Plan has been launched in 1985 because the quality of the water in Ganga was very poor. Coliform bacteria was found present in the Ganga water. Now, in 1985, the survey has been conducted. They have checked the quality of the Ganga water, and they found that bacteria named coliform are present in the water. Now, what are these coliform bacteria? So, coliform bacteria are organisms that are present in the environment and in the feces of the warm-blooded animal and humans. They are already present into the humans and in the animals, and in their intestine they are present. This bacteria will not cause any illness. These bacteria are not causing any illness, but the presence of this bacteria will indicate that there is a large level of pathogen present into the Ganga water. Now, what all are the pathogens? Pathogens are the microorganism which will cause disease in humans and animal. Pathogen are microorganism which will cause disease in humans and animals. So because of they found presence of coliform bacteria, and it was very high. If we will see here, dangerous situation, and after that the government has launched a cleaning project of Ganga. So as we can see in this figure, the presence of this bacteria was very high. Now, key points of Ganga pollution. Why Ganga was so much polluted, right? So total length of Ganga is 2,500 km from Gangotri in the Himalayas to Ganga Sagar in Bay of Bengal. And it was turned into a drain by more than 100 towns and cities in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal. So Ganga is passing from the three main states, that is Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal, and the pollution in the Ganga is caused due to untreated sewage dump. Then second is pollution caused by other human activities like bathing, washing of clothes and immersion of ashes and unburned corpses. And then industries contribute chemical effluent. So because of this activities for over a decade and 2 decades, the Ganga has been polluted a lot, and that's why government has launched a Ganga action plan, and after that we have started the project to clean Ganga. Now next topic we are learning is 5 R's. These 5 R's are very important in today's situation. First is refuse. Refuse means say no to buy the products what can harm you and the environment. So we should always say no to plastic bag. We should always carry our shopping bag so that we can say no to a thin material of the plastic bag. And why we should refuse to use plastic? Because plastic is not degradable, is not biodegradable, and if you will throw it on the land, and if we are not treating it, it will lie there for decade, and after that also it will be as it is. So plastic is one of the major pollution around the world, and scientists are finding out the solution for the plastic. how to recycle the plastic or how to minimize the waste of the plastic. So we should always say no to the plastic products. Then reduce. Reduce means we should use less resources and we have to save them. That save electricity by switching off unnecessary lights and fans, save water by repairing leaking taps. Whatever resources are there, how much ever we want, we should use only that much, we should not waste them. And actually, we should reduce our usage of them. Then reuse. Simply use the things again and again. For example, jam and pickle bottle, whatever we are getting when we are buying it a new product, then those bottles can be washed and can be used for storing other things in the kitchen. So you are using it again for the another purpose, right? So that is reuse the thing and not buy new one. Repurpose. Product can no more be used for original purpose. Think carefully and use it for some other useful purpose. You are completely changing the purpose of that. So that is repurpose. Here you can see a bottle of water is there. Into that we have planted a small shrub. So this is an example where we can repurpose some of the things. Another example is the mug. When the handle of the mug will be broken, we can use it as a pen stand. So that is a repurpose. Recycle. We all know what is recycle. Recycle means plastics, papers, glass, metal, all these materials we are collecting and we are recycling it, we are melting them and we are making another thing. So we shouldn't produce a new complete thing. Whatever things are there, we are melting them and we are making new things out of that. So that process is known as recycle. So that is recycle. So these are the 5 R's. The second line suggests you the meaning of the refuse, reuse, and reduce, repurpose and recycle, and the last line will tell you for the examples, that what can be the possible examples for all the 5 R's. Next slide is telling you about why do we need to manage our resources carefully. So these are the reasons that why we should need to manage our resources carefully, because our natural resources are not unlimited, and with the human population increasing at tremendous rate, the demand for all the resources are increasing at exponential rate. Now our healthcare system has become advanced. Earlier the humans average age was 60 or 70. Nowadays it has become 80 to 90. So with the increase of average human age, the population has been increased immensely. And as the population has been increased, the need of the natural resources also went higher exponentially. The management of natural resources requires a long-term perspective so that this will last for generations to come. Then second factor is we exploit these natural resources in the damage we cause to the environment while these resources are either extracted or used. For example, mining causes pollution because of the large amount of slag which is discarded for every ton of metal extracted. Hence, sustainable natural resources management demands that we plan for safe disposal of this waste too. So whenever we are using natural resources, whenever we are mining or we are cutting trees, whenever we are extracting metal, we are also degrading the environment, also we are polluting the environment. So we are exploiting a natural resources and we are causing a damage which is unrepairable. In first topic we have seen that this all are exhaustible resources. Then coming generation will not be able to enjoy and will not be able to use the natural resources. So these are the two important factors, and this is why we need to manage our resources carefully. The first resource we are talking about is forest and wildlife. So there are 4 stakeholders which are come in a picture when we are talking about forest and wildlife. Four types of people who are associated with forest and wildlife and their role for present situation. So these are the four types of people. So when we are going to discuss the forest and wildlife, we need to think about this four types of people who are associated with forest and wildlife. First one are local people. So they live in or around the forest and they are depending upon the forest produce for their life. So they are selling this forest produce and they are living a life in and around the forest. Second is government and the forest department, which owns the land and controls the resources from the forest. So they are regulating all the rules and they are regulating procedures for, and they are making the laws so that forest will survive and forest will grow. The industrialist, who use various forest produce but are not dependent on the forest in any one area. So their lives does not belong to forest. They do not take care of the forest, but yes, they use forest produce for their interest. Then last one are NGOs and the social worker. So they are wildlife and nature enthusiasts. So they are taking care of the forest in a pristine form. Pristine means in a purest form. They do not have any selfish motive behind that, but they do take care of the forest and wildlife. So these are the four types of people, in which the local people are associated with the forest, but they are not causing the harm to forest because their lives are depending upon the forest. So if they will cause harm to forest, then next year or in coming days they are not going to get those forest produce on which their life is depending upon. So they also do take care about the forest. Forest department is also take care about the forest, but in a different manner. They are forming a laws so that people will follow that. The industrialists are not taking care of the forest, but they do use, and they are the one who are mainly responsible to exhaust the forest resources. So NGOs and social workers will help local people, forest department, so that forest will grow and our ecosystem will not become unbalanced. Now we are discussing some of the incidents in which we are discussing that when local people are involved. Now here in this chapter we are going to discuss some of the incidents where local people have tried to save the forest and they sacrificed for the forest. So local people working traditionally to conserve the forest. So first we are writing here the community and where they are belong to and what incident has made this sacrifice popular and what incident has happened due to which this incident came into light. And here these pictures are only for the reference and they are not part of the syllabus. So first one is the Bishnoi community living in Thar Desert, Rajasthan. So this nature loving people have for centuries been conserving flora and fauna of the nature and forest. So they restricted the cutting trees, and due to that Amrita Devi Bishnoi in 1731 sacrificed her life along with 363 others for the protection of Kejri trees in Kejrali village near Jodhpur. So 363 people along with this Amrita Devi Bishnoi, they sacrificed their life and they save these Kejri trees. Now why they save these trees? Because their life were depending upon this forest produce and this forest produce were coming from the Kejri trees. Now if the people who wanted to cut the trees, if they will cut the trees, then their survival will become impossible. So they sacrificed their life and did not allow to cut the trees. Then second is completely different example when we are stopping local people to coming in contact with the sanctuaries, coming in contact with the forest, then will it bring any good result? That if we are stopping them, for example, some government officials are stopping the local people, local tribe to get some of the forest produce because they believe that it will be harmful for the forest. So will it bring any good result? So the second example throws some light on this kind of examples. This happened in between Great Himalayan National Park and nomadic shepherds. So nomadic shepherds are having sheep and goats, and they are going to these Himalayan meadows to graze their sheep and goats. So this Himalayan meadows grass will not become taller because of the grazing of the sheep and goats. But once the officials have stopped them, and this practice was put an end. So after that, so without regular grazing by the sheep, the grass first grow very tall and then falls over, preventing the fresh growth. So it has restricted the another flora and fauna to grow. So this was one of the adverse effect when we are not taking a support of local people, when we do not know the correct natural situation. Then third incident is very popular and it is known as Chipko Andolan. This happened in Rani in Garhwal in 1970. As per the incident, contractors worker wanted to cut down the trees, and all the ladies, all the women of the village reached to the forest quickly and they covered the trees as you can see in the picture, and they did not allow contractor peoples to cut down the trees because their lives were depending upon this forest produce. Once these trees will be cutting down, then they will not get enough forest produce, and by which their surviving will be difficult. Now, what has happened after Chipko Andolan? So, effect of Chipko Andolan. Chipko movement quickly spread across the communities and media and forced government to whom the forest belonged to rethink their priorities and use of forest produce. So, forest belongs to whom? Contractor, this tribal people, or the people, local people, or the government. So government has to choose again, government has to decide again the role in this sanctuaries, in this forest. Experiences have taught people that destruction of the forest affect not just the availability of the forest product, but also the quality of soil and source of water. Once the forest will be there, the trees will not allow to erode the soil. Soil erosion will stop once the trees will be there. And it is also giving rise to groundwater. Because of the roots, it will give rise to the groundwater. The rain will come more frequently and the people will survive nicely. Now, participation of the local people can indeed lead to efficient management of the forest, because local people know need of the forest and some basic characteristic property of that area's forest, that in this season forest will have this kind of tendency, and in this season the forest will have this kind of tendency. So when they are collecting a produce, they also do take care that next year they should be able to get the same produce, because this produce are the only produce on which their survival is depending upon. So they are never going to harm the forest, and they will not exhaust the forest, because their life dependency is on the forest. If next year they will not get any forest produce, then what they will sell? How their life will goes on? They are the people who are collecting forest produce as well as they are taking care of the forest. And many of the tribal people and communities which are situated in and around forest, they have the custom in which they are taking care of the forest utmost. Whatever rituals, whatever custom they are following day-to-day basis and yearly basis, in which they are always taking care of the forest. So whenever you need to learn about any forest you need to learn about the custom of the forest, or you need to learn about the pattern of that seasonal crop or the forest tendency, then the best people to contact are the local people, because local people are the one who knew in and around the forest. The next case was happened in West Bengal Forest Department. What was the conflict? So recognize its failure in reviving the degraded sal forest in southwestern district of the state. Government has recognized that there were so many sal forests. Sal is the name of the tree. So sal forests were there, and these sal forests are degrading day by day. So department changed its strategy. A.K. Banerjee was there, and he was the in charge of the forest department. So he studied the tendency that how government is supporting the forest and what they are doing to reviving the forest. After checking that, he changed the government policy, and villagers, the local people, were involved in the protection of 1272 hectares of badly degraded sal forest. So he was the official person who involved villagers and the local people into this government work. In return for the help in protection, villagers were given the employment in both silviculture and harvesting operation. So they have decided that 25% of the final harvest and allowed fuel wood and fodder collection on payment of the nominal fees. So in return, when they are protecting the forest, in return they were getting the fodder and the fuel wood. So these two are the main important things for the villagers. So they were getting this in the nominal fees. So with active and willing participation of the local community, Sal Forest of Arabari underwent a remarkable recovery by 1983. It was in a degrading situation, and after some time it was valued over 12.5 crore, because local people were knowing the need of the forest, and that knowledge government has used to reviving the forest. So in this case, this was a win-win situation when local people helped government and government has helped local people, and by which we have preserved our forest. Now let us see some of the traditional methods for water harvesting, that when Britishers were not there and in ancient time what Indian people were doing to harvest water, because we know that in India rain is seasonal and it is depending upon the wind pattern. So here I have made a summary in this table that here reflects the state and here it reflects the traditional method, that Rajasthan people were using traditional method and they were water harvesting in khadins, tanks and nadis. Maharashtra, they were using bandaras and tals. Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, they were using bundis. Bihar, they were using haras and pines. Himachal Pradesh, they were using kuls. Kandi belt of Jammu region, they were using ponds. Tamil Nadu people were using aris or tanks. Kerala people were using surangams. Karnataka people were using kattas. Now in next slide, we will see that each pattern effectively it is. Here we can see haras and pine structure, that yes, it is coming from the river, it is coming in between the city where it is making a pond, a reservoir. From there, these small canals will take water to independent field or further down the village. And if the water is more, then again it will go back to the river. It will not flood over. So aharas and pines are traditional floodwater harvesting system indigenous in South Bihar. Now bandaras at Aptale village in Maharashtra. Here we can see that this is a stream, and here they have put some bags of the sand to stop the water. Once in monsoon the rain will be more and the water will come, the water reservoir will be generated here. So this water they can use it for the purpose. Then Khadin is a system where the water is coming here. Here they have developed a reservoir from which they can use this water, and far down below the well is also there. By constructing this kind of reservoir, the underground water level will also come up, which will be helpful to revive the water in the well also. Talabs and bandis means man-made reservoirs in which we are collecting the water in monsoon season, and rest of the year we can use that water. And when the water will get empty into the pond, this field will be used as rice paddy field. So this system was a perfect system as per the Indian rain cycle. The next is Cools at Himachal Pradesh. So this model is very impressive and we are going to discuss it in detail. So Cools in Himachal Pradesh, so how they were arranging this. So Himachal Pradesh is a slopy area where the complete region is a hilly region. So they have arranged a water system like this, that they made a irrigation canal, and from there they will leave the water. The farther person will get the water first. The farther person will get the water first, and then to the people who are living near to the canal will get a water. Like that they have arranged a canal system. So now let us see how they were operating this. So Himachal Pradesh has evolved a local system of canal irrigation called Cools over 400 years ago. How they were operating this? The water flowing in the streams were diverted into man-made canals which took this water to numerous villages down the hillside. The management of the water flowing in these schools was by common agreement among the villagers. Interestingly, during the planting season, water was first used by the village which is farthest away, or the people which are living farther from the canal, from the source of the Cool, then by villagers progressively higher up. Then these people will get who are living higher up. So first these people will be getting the water, then this, and then last the people who are living at the top or nearby the canal. So here they did not need any kind of electricity also, because of the slope water will automatically go down. So first people are using which are further down the hillside. So what were the benefits of this process? So in addition to irrigation, irrigation was proper and each and every villagers farmers were getting the water properly. Water from the schools also percolated into the soil and fed spring at various points. Proper water management were happening when this system was followed. But when the Cools were taken over by the irrigation department, most of them became defunct. Now, what is the meaning of defunct? It was no longer functioning properly and there is no amicable, proper and without bias sharing of the water as before. So, government officials were not able to handle this irrigation properly. The earlier this system, when it was run by the villagers, it was successful, but after when government intervened, the sharing was not proper and was biased. Last resource we are talking about is coal and petroleum. So they are exhaustible resources. They are naturally made and they have made after millions and billions of years from biomass and from dead and decaying material. So if we will exhaust all of this material, all of this fuel, then it will take ages and again a millions of years to formulate them again, and that is a natural process. We cannot make them. So it's a high time that we have to find some alternate. We have to cut down the usage of the coal and petroleum, and we definitely do research in the field of alternate energy sources. So here we are going to discuss three different types of questions and their answer. So first question is, why should we develop alternate energy sources. So what is a need? Coal and petroleum were formed from a degradation of biomass millions of years ago, and hence these are resources that will be exhausted in the future, no matter how carefully we use them. And then we would need to look for the alternative sources of the energy. So they are going to exhaust soon because we are using them extensively in each and every manner. Then second question is, we should decrease the use of coal and petroleum. Why? So there are three reasons for that. First is, coal and petroleum have been formed from biomass in addition to carbon. This contain hydrogen, nitrogen and sulfur. When these are burnt, the products are carbon dioxide, water, oxides of nitrogen and oxides of sulfur. Now what all are the oxides of nitrogen and sulfur? So when we are talking about oxides of nitrogen and sulfur, they are N2O, NO, NO2, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. So all these oxides will be formulated in the air, and once they are attaching with the rainwater, they will give acidic effect to the rain. So pH of the rain will go down once these oxides will come in contact with rainwater. So these oxides are very dangerous for our environment. Then second reason is, when combustion take place in insufficient air. Insufficient air, what is a combustion? Combustion means burning process. Any burning is happening, that is always in the presence of oxygen. That is always in the presence of oxygen. Now when oxygen is less, when quantity of oxygen is less, it will make carbon monoxide, not make carbon dioxide. So when oxygen is less, we will get carbon monoxide from the burning. From the burning we will get carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is very poisonous gas, and whenever any burning will happen, these two gases are being produced and they both are greenhouse gases. They both are greenhouse gases. Now what greenhouse gases will do? Greenhouse gases are responsible for the global warming. They are increasing the temperature of the earth and they are responsible for the global warming. Then third reason is, another way of looking at coal and petroleum is that they are huge reservoir of carbon, and if all of the carbon is converted to carbon dioxide, whatever carbon is there in the earth crust, all of the carbon will be converted to carbon dioxide, then we can imagine that how much amount of carbon dioxide will be generated in the atmosphere, and it will definitely create unbalanced in the ecosystem and it will increase global warming. So these are the three different reasons that because of this we should decrease the use of petroleum. One, that is they are very limited, so we should cut down the use of that. Second, they are producing non-metallic oxide and they are producing greenhouse gases, and greenhouse gases are responsible for global warming if all of this carbon is converting into carbon dioxide. So these are the three reasons. Now next question is, how can we reduce the consumption of coal and petroleum? Here they are asking about at the personal level, that at personal level what can we do? At personal level what can we do so that we can cut down the usage of coal and petroleum at individual level? So first is, when we are taking our individual vehicle, we should take the cycle, or if it is nearby then we should walk. Then second is using LED bulb and fluorescent tubes, which are using less power supply instead of using regular bulbs and tube lights. Then third is using the lift or taking the stairs. So definitely we are taking the stairs and we are not using the lift here. then wearing an extra sweater instead of using the heating device, or we should use a traditional heating device which is Sigri, and cut down the usage at individual level. So these are the three important questions by which we can cut down the usage of coal and petroleum. We should use alternate resources, and we should contribute to ecosystem at our personal level. So this was all about the chapter that is sustainable management of natural resources. Thank you for watching and learning at Learn Yourself. Don't forget to subscribe Learn Yourself. I'll see you in next video. Till then, keep learning, keep sharing.